Kansas City is the only city in Missouri with a state-run police department. The city still foots the bill, and now the long-standing fight over funding at KCPD is back in the spotlight. The state Supreme Court heard oral arguments this past week in a lawsuit filed by Mayor Quinton Lucas against the state of Missouri. At the center of it all is an amendment passed by the General Assembly and put up to a statewide vote last year, requiring the city to spend at least 25% of its general revenue every year on KCPD. The minimum used to be 20%. The mayor and the city call the rule unconstitutional and want it tossed out. They believe voters were misled about the true cost, saying that the move requires the city to spend millions more. An attorney defending the state claims that the move doesn't cost the city anything. The latest budget using the new rules sets aside more than $284 million for KCPD. But it's important to note here, historically, the city has gone above 25% for a number of years, and Mayor Lucas says that's why this rule isn't needed.
When we get the chance to make the decision, we spend above that amount. We've spent any number of amounts in terms of trying to do what's best for the people of Kansas City. The people of Kansas City vote for a bunch of people to try to make decisions for our best interests long term. These people should be trusted here in Kansas City rather than somebody in Cape Girardeau, let's say, having just as much power over public safety choices as they do here.
The city wants a new election on the issue with clearer ballot language. You know, trying to clear up an issue like this can be tough. We've worked through it before with Alan Roster, law professor at UMKC. So he's back again. Thanks for being here. This battle, as you know, has been going on for a while right now in the state's highest court. What do you think justices will have to consider here?
You know, I think the city and Mayor Lucas have really good arguments on the merits. I mean, the question is, does requiring them to contribute at least 25% of their revenue to the police department instead of just 20%, which was the previous requirement, does that impose a cost on them? And I think there's a pretty good logical argument that it does. It would be like if you were choosing to donate money to a charity and now they made it mandatory, you might say, it's still a cost to me. I didn't used to have to do this. I had the choice and now I do. I think probably the state's best argument is that Mayor Lucas is asking for an election result to be overturned. And that's a pretty dramatic thing. The state can say millions of Missourians went to the polls and voted, and they chose this, and now it's going to be reversed and they'll have to do it again.
Well, let's talk about that because the ballot language really is one of the key parts of this case. The city's claim here is that Republicans who pushed this through the General Assembly and people in state offices misled voters when they added state and local governmental entities estimate no additional cost or savings related to this proposal. Statewide, this was a blowout win, right? But Kansas City rejected the measure. The voters did. Do you see this big ask being granted here, this revote?
It is a lot to ask for. And it's not something that they would take lightly or that they've done before. I mean, to have a vote on a major thing like this again, one of the things Kansas City has to show is not just that there was, in some way, that there was an error or the ballot language could have been written better, but that it would have made a difference. And interestingly, they have presented proof on that. They hired an expert to do polls and to ask voters how they voted on it originally, and then ask, would it change your mind if the fiscal note summary indicated that Kansas City thinks it might cost a lot and require them to raise taxes? And at least their expert, who they are paying, but he does find that enough people would have switched their views on this to change the result.
Interesting. It's so important. The ballot language is in many elections. We're seeing that even this year, pushing for petitions next year. The city is also claiming that the requirement is illegal according to Missouri's Hancock Amendment. I know it's a little inside baseball. Can you tell us about that?
Well, that's really the reason why this had to be on the ballot in the first place. The legislature would have liked to just say, we're just going to raise the funding requirement from 20 to 25%, and the legislature will just do that. And normally they could just tell the city what to do. But the Hancock Amendment has been in Missouri's Constitution for some time. It was meant to basically get spending and tax increases under control. And one of its provisions is that the state can't impose an unfunded mandate on a city. They can't just say, we want you to do this, but you figure out how to pay for it. If they want to order the state to do a new thing, like a new law enforcement approach or whatever, they do have to pay for it. So since that's in the Missouri Constitution, they need to have another provision added to the Missouri Constitution to override it. And so that's why this had to go to the voters before and conceivably could have to go to them again.
We have talked about this until we're blue in the face for, a year and a half plus. This really comes down to local control, right? And Kansas City being the only police department in the state, one of the only in the country that has this state umbrella over it. Do you ever see that changing? I mean, St. Louis got out of it, but do you see Kansas City getting local control back?
One of the things that's interesting about this is it's these interesting technical legal issues surrounded by this larger political one about local control and also just about policing and what are the best approaches to that. Kansas City might have different views than the rest of the state. I suspect they won't, just because, not because logically you could say that they, as a matter of policy, they should be able to control it at the local level, but state politics being what it is and the people of Kansas City having a different political view for the most part than a lot of the rest of the state, I would say it's unlikely that that larger issue will change.
All right. Well, I know we'll be back talking about it if it ever comes up. Alan Roster with UMKC, thank you so much. Stay up to date on any decisions as soon as they come down by downloading our KMBC 9 News app. It's free in your app store.